Imagine this, every anime character from every generation, genre, and power system gets dropped into a single tournament. No teams, no alliances, just the one goal of becoming the ultimate character. So today, I'm creating the ultimate anime tournament. From Gojo to Goku and even Saitama, we've got all the strongest characters in the anime universe. So the question is, who do you have coming out on top? Well, this is how it's going down. We've built a 16-character bracket. Winners move on to round 2, then the semis until we reach the ultimate one-on-one. Let's kick things off, shall we? First up, we've got the strongest sorcerer of today, Satoru Gojo, going up against Izuku Midoriya, better known as Deku. This is Curse Techniques versus Quirks, Infinity versus One for All. Now, Deku is no slouch. His Gear Shift plus Fanjin combo lets him move faster than the eye can follow, and his strategy also top tier. But there's one massive problem: Infinity. Gojo's ability makes it so anything that approaches him slows infinitely, meaning Deku's punches might never be able to land a hit. And that might be a little problematic in a one-on-one fight. On top of that, Gojo's curse techniques are just on another level. Not only does he possess arguably the strongest defensive ability in all of anime, but he also has incredible physical traits like speed, strength, and IQ, all way above Deku's level. So, how would this fight really go? Well, the fight would kick off fast. Deku blitzes in, layering danger sense, smoke screen, and black whip to close the distance. But the second he throws a punch, it just stops midair. You see, Deku's heart, speed, and growth are unmatched, but Gojo's toolkit is just on another level entirely. Meaning, without Deku bypassing Infinity, Gojo easily wins the fight without even having to use his domain. And so, our first winner of the tournament is going to be the chosen one, Satoru Gojo. Okay, next up, our next opponents, we've got Saitama, and facing him, the prodigy Killua Zoldyck, a lightning-fast killer and the coldest tactician in Hunter x Hunter. This is the fight between overwhelming strength and speed. So, who's coming out on top? Killua's god speed gives him near-instant reaction time, electric bursts, and inhuman agility. Combine that with his assassin techniques, and you've got one of the deadliest threats in anime history. But here's the catch. Saitama isn't bound by logic. He's a parody of power itself. No limits, no scaling, just ridiculous overwhelming strength. He's known for finishing fights with a single punch, but the best part is that he possesses an inhuman durability, being capable of tanking the most ridiculous attacks without even scratching his body. So, even if Killua starts fast, activating God Speed, zipping around Saitama like a bolt of lightning, nothing really happens. You see, Killua is not on Saitama's level, and so this fight will not cure Saitama's boredness. Saitama just stands there, and as soon as he gets his turn, one casual flick and Killua is sent flying through the arena. You see, Killua's speed, instincts, and ruthlessness are top tier, but against a little gag character with infinite strength, there's no competition. This was a mismatch from the beginning, which makes Saitama easily the winner of this fight. So let's move on to one of the most anticipated fights in anime history. On one side, we've got Naruto Uzumaki, and his opponent is none other than Monkey D. Luffy. This is a fight between Chakra versus Haki, Baryon Mode versus Gear 5. With two fan favorites going head-to-head, things are finally heating up. Let's get into it. Naruto is a monster in combat, with abilities like Sage Mode, takes past Chakra, and Baryon Mode as his ultimate trump cards. With that, he's easily one of the strongest characters in all of anime. But Gear 5 Luffy, that's a whole different beast. He turns reality into rubber. He bends physics, reshapes the battlefield, and laughs through the chaos. This fight is about to go wild. Naruto would open the fight with his Shadow Clone technique, unleashing multiple clones and blitzing from all angles with Rasengans. But, as usual, Luffy would just laugh, his body stretching, warping, and rebounding every hit. You see, being made of rubber, Luffy has a massive advantage in this fight. Unless it's something sharp or pure overwhelming force, there's almost nothing that can hurt him. Now, Naruto might not use blades, but his raw power easily qualifies, especially once Baryon Mode enters the picture. But here's where Luffy takes things to the next level. You see, he's not just rubber, he also possesses Haki. In fact, he has 3. Observation Haki, allowing him to sense and predict his opponent, Armament Haki, that makes his body harder than steel, and the Conqueror's Haki, a rare type that allows Luffy to intimidate and knock out opponents weaker than him. The problem is that Naruto doesn't have an obvious way to block any Haki-based attacks. So then, the climax of the fight begins. begins. Naruto finally activates Baryon mode. As it stands, he definitely has the raw power and speed to win this battle. But this Baryon mode is a ticking clock, draining Naruto's stamina at a crazy rate, while his best chance of victory was outlasting Gear 5. You see, this fight was all along a Baryon mode versus Gear 5 showdown, and unfortunately for Naruto, his stamina didn't outlast Luffy's, which means Luffy doesn't waste a chance, and so defeating Naruto in one of the wildest fights of the bracket. This way, Luffy is moving on to the next round, which means now it's time to move on to the next duel. Two powerhouse fighters from very different worlds. First, we've got Mob Kagayama, better known as Mob, and facing him is Ichigo Kurosaki. This is a battle of overwhelming psychic force versus relentless spiritual power. So, who takes the win? Well, Mob's power grows with emotions, and in his unknown level form, he's strong enough to flatten entire cities in seconds. But Ichigo, he's operating on a whole different tier, scaling to lightspeed reactions, planet-level strikes, and fighting beings that warp time, space, and fate. But in a one-on-one, how would this fight go? Mob would keep his distance at first, blasting psychic waves and creating shields while trying to not release his full power. But in this state, Mob is no match for Ichigo in a fight. Now, if the pressure rises and Mob's emotion hit 100%, it might be a different story. If caught by surprise, Ichigo might take a little damage. But after that, it's time to get serious. He would go all in, responding with his true Bankai and hollow form, pushing his spiritual pressure to the max for a fierce close quarters fight. It's looking like this might be all over. But wait, Ichigo is not the only one going all out. With Mob hitting his unknown level, shifting into a state that he can't even control, it's time for the climax of the fight. So, who comes out of this brawl? Well, despite Mob's city-bending psychic powers, Ichigo has the power, speed, and battle instincts of a war-tested hybrid built to fight gods. And so, despite the valiant effort, Ichigo Kurosaki finishes things up before they get too sketchy, which means he'll be now moving on to face Luffy in the next round. Woo! I cannot wait for that one. With half of the bracket complete, our next round is looking very juicy. So let's move on to our next fight. On one side, Tomura Shigaraki, and facing him is Asta, the anti-magic swordsman from Black Clover. This is a fight between quirk versus anti-magic, and it's about to get messy. Shigaraki's powers are terrifying. He possesses arguably the most broken technique in all of anime, his decay. This technique kills everything he touches, people or buildings. If he touches you, you're gone. And with all for one's quirks, he has regeneration, shockwaves, super speed, and much more. But Asta is no joke. With Devil Union, he gains the ability to fly, insane strength, and the technique to cancel magic with a single swing of his sword. You see, aside from his incredible physical stats like strength, speed, and durability, Asta's power is centered in anti-magic, a rare and unique ability that allows him to nullify and cancel any kind of magic. That would make him one of the biggest threats in this tournament. But the problem? Shigaraki's quirks are not magic, which means Asta's anti-magic won't cancel his decay. In fact, it won't even stop his regeneration. And so, from the very start, Asta finds himself in a complete mismatch. But can he somehow pull out the upset? Despite Asta's physical traits and determination, if he can't stop Shigaraki's regeneration, there's not much damage he can do to defeat the villain. And this is not even considering decay, because if there's nothing stopping Shigaraki from using this technique, then there's no way Asta will be able to keep dodging the attack. The best he can do is keep flying around so Shigaraki can't reach him. But this means that when Asta's stamina comes flying down, Shigaraki will be able to connect with his body and finish this bout with his decay technique. So giving the deserved win to Tomura Shigaraki. Okay, now it's time for one of the most discussed clashes in all of anime. On one side, we have Ryomen Sukuna, the king of curses in his true form, and his opponent, Yoriichi Tsugikuni. Let's get started, because this might be one of the biggest 50-50 fights in the entire video. Okay, well, Sukuna is known for being one of the most powerful villains in the new generation, with Cleave and Dismantle adapting to his opponent's durability, reverse curse technique healing any injury, and his domain expansion giving him a guaranteed hit. It's hard to find any opponent who can stand against the king of curses. But Yoriichi might just be that opponent. He's a once-in-history prodigy, possessing techniques like Transparent World, allowing him to see into the body's inner workings, and his sun-breathing techniques. With this, he's by far one of the best swordsman in all of anime. But Yorichi is still human. He doesn't possess abilities like healing or enhanced stamina, which means one mistake and this fight will turn in Sukuna's favor. So, how would this fight go with both contenders going all out? Well, here's the thing. If this ends up being a quick fight, then Yorichi by far has the upper hand. Being a faster and stronger character that goes all out from the get-go, he definitely has the most one-shot potential out of the two. The problem is that if this fight drags out, the tables flip. You see, by being human, Yorichi would eventually run out of stamina faster than Sukuna. And for Sukuna to win the fight, all it takes is to slow down Yorichi's greatest weapon. So now, who wins? With two exceptional fighters and Sukuna's adaptability to a fight, it's more likely that this fight drags out than it ends with one blow. Therefore, despite Yorichi's almost fatal blow, Sukuna is able to recompose himself and activate his domain expansion. After this, it's game over. Even though Yorichi is probably the strongest and fastest character, the human versus curse factor was way too much to bear, leading to his regeneration and stamina limitations being the key for the King of Curses win in this one-on-one. Which means Sukuna wins the 50-50 battle and moves on to face the winner of our next fight. Whew, that was a tough one. You guys let me know who would you guys have winning for this one. Now, let's move on to our next fight. Next up, on one side, we've got Meliodas, and his opponent is going to be none other than Azeth, the Ice Queen of Akame ga Kill. Let's get into it. As we know, Meliodas is a monster in close combat, with techniques like full counter to reflect magic, Hellblaze to burn through regeneration, and Demon Mode to boost all his stats. Now, Azeth is no slouch either. Her ice manipulation is able to cover the entire field in mere seconds. But that's not all. Azeth also possesses one of the most overpowered trump cards in all of anime. A technique that allows her to freeze time and space, leaving the opponent vulnerable and so giving her a massive edge if used correctly. But it all comes down to whether she can finish Meliodas before he adapts and overpowers her. And as we well know, Meliodas is no regular opponent. He would easily dodge any of her attacks and even launch some of his own. If the fight already looks one-sided, imagine when Meliodas enters his demon form. Not only does he boost all his stats, but Azeth would have no chance of fighting back. Realizing this, she wastes no time and activates her trump card from the get-go. Azeth stops time and prepares to land the finishing blow. But without even noticing, Meliodas is able to unleash his ultimate technique, his full counter. What happens next? Well, Azeth's attack backfires. You see, thanks to the full counter being able to reflect any magical attack, instead of Meliodas getting hit, Azeth is the one struck with her own technique. And so, allowing Meliodas to strike her down and closing out the fight. With the Demon Lord's full counter, this was a mismatch from the start. Now, next up, our final match of round 1. On one side, we've got Goku, the legendary Super Saiyan, and standing against him, it's the Shadow Monarch Sung Jin-Woo. Now this could be the fight of the tournament, but here's the twist. Since this is a true 1v1 tournament, summoning an entire army wouldn't exactly be fair. So for this matchup, Jin-Woo will not be allowed to use his shadows. No Beru, no Igris, just him, his blade, and Goku. Let's get into it. Now Jin-Woo, even without his army, isn't just some guy with a sword. He's a stat monster. His strength, speed, and durability scale to ridiculous levels. He dodges lightspeed attacks, defeats high-rank bosses, and heals from massive wounds like it's nothing. Meanwhile, Goku is faster than light and strong enough to shake dimensions. And this is without Saiyan mode or even Ultra Instinct. Now, in their strongest forms, they've both gone toe-to-toe with god-tier beings, making this match even more interesting. So, how would this fight go with no shadows? Well, Jin-Woo still has the better swordplay. His movements are sharp, aggressive, and hard to read. This is a trained killer and not a martial artist. But Goku, what really gives him the edge in this fight is his Ultra Instinct. This would be like nothing Jin-Woo has experienced before. Being able to just react and move instantly without thinking makes it super hard to not only hit Goku, but to dodge him as well. And without his shadows, all he's got is his physical traits, and Goku might still have the edge there. So the question is, can Jin-Woo do enough damage before Goku activates his technique? Well, in pure stats, they're a lot closer than most think. But when it comes to battle IQ, adaptability, and durability, Goku might have the upper hand. And with Ultra Instinct turned on, as well as his teleportation, Goku also takes the speed trait. So yeah, even without his trump card, Jin-Woo is still a challenge to Goku. If he lands early and overwhelms him with strength, he could pull off the win. But Goku never goes down easy. It would take way more than just an early hit. And so, with no shadows and a slight disadvantage in physical traits, there's no world where Jin-Woo wins this fight. Meaning Goku is the winner and will be moving on to face Sukuna in the next round. Woo, that one is about to be fun. This means all of our first round matchups are now complete, leaving us with only 8 contenders left. And you guys know what comes next. Let's get started with our second round. First up, we got a juggernaut match. Now, things are really heating up. We've got the strongest sorcerer of today, Satoru Gojo, versus the One Punch Man, Saitama. Now, even though this is one of the most anticipated fights and one where anyone can come out victorious, there's one single key moment that will determine the winner. The big question is, can Saitama bypass Gojo's infinity? And well, here's the catch. As we already know, his limitless ability creates an infinite space between him and any attack, meaning most opponents can't even touch him. But Saitama isn't most opponents. See, while Gojo's technique is built on physics and cursed energy, Saitama's strength and speed don't really follow logic. If there's any character capable of punching through infinity by sheer brute force, it would be Saitama. Now, even though Saitama's strength is absurd, he wouldn't be able to bypass Gojo's defense in one go. In fact, to his surprise, this fight would not end in one single punch. It's not only after Saitama gets serious that after multiple shots, he's able to finally land a massive hit on Gojo, and so tilt the fight in his favor. Now, if Saitama were to get hit by Gojo's unlimited void, that certainly would mean a loss for the One Punch Man. But as expected of someone like Saitama, his character doesn't abide by laws at all. And now, not underestimating Gojo's abilities, he would forcibly keep his distance and so unable to get caught in his domain. Wow, this fight might actually end up in a draw. With Gojo or Saitama unable to finish each other, there's only one single factor that can end this fight: stamina. Now, even though Gojo with his reverse curse technique is arguably the favorite in this scenario, it's the constant use of those very techniques that starts to wear him down. Every time he activates Limitless or regenerates, it drains his cursed energy. And unlike Saitama, who fights without using any kind of power system and barely breaks a sweat, Gojo's stamina slowly begins to drain. Which means, in the end, even infinity has a limit, giving the win to Saitama on one of the most epic fights in all of anime. Okay, next up, we've got the two of the big three going head-to-head. It's Ichigo Kurosaki versus Monkey D. Luffy. When you put Ichigo and Luffy head-to-head, you're looking at two completely different fighting styles and weaknesses. First off, Ichigo is a master swordsman. His Bankai and Hollow forms give him incredible speed, spiritual power, and a blade that can slice through dimensions and defenses. And, as we already know, that makes him a perfect counter to Luffy's main weakness. The rubber body that makes Luffy nearly immune to blunt force doesn't hold up so well against a blade like Ichigo's. In the swords versus rubber realm, Ichigo would have the clear advantage. But here's where Luffy flips the script. In his Gear 5 form, Luffy gains reality bending abilities, distorting space, bending attacks, and dodging in ways that no traditional fighter can predict. Suddenly, the fight isn't about strength or swordsmanship. It becomes a battle of creativity and unpredictability. That means even Ichigo's razor-sharp strikes won't always connect cleanly, turning what should be a one-sided advantage into an even playing field. So the big question is, can Ichigo land enough damage before Luffy transforms the entire battlefield into a cartoon? Well, if Luffy isn't careful, he could get overwhelmed before his Toon Force fully kicks in. But this is where Gear 5 becomes a game changer, because once Luffy gets serious, his freedom-based powers let him twist Ichigo's own attacks. And here's the catch: Ichigo is serious 100% of the time, but Luffy, the more fun he has, the stronger he gets. And this fight would be fun as hell for him. So, while Ichigo is a formidable opponent, the reality-bending creativity of Gear 5 gives Luffy the edge. Which means, despite a close and intense one-on-one, Luffy would find a way to turn Ichigo's swordsmanship against him, ultimately winning and moving on to face Saitama in the next round. Whew, this one was wild. But if you think it can get crazier, wait until you see what's next. Let's see what else we've got in store. Up next, a demon prince takes on the deadliest quirk in existence. It's Meliodas versus Shigaraki. Now, there's always one question we have to ask in a Shigaraki fight. Can his opponent avoid or counter decay? Well, Meliodas has a near-immortal physical strength, regeneration, and devastating magic-based attacks, including his signature full counter, which would be the perfect defense. But here's the catch. As we already know, Shigaraki's quirk isn't magic. This means Meliodas' trump card would not work on Shigaraki's quirk. So instead of countering, the core question is, can Meliodas avoid Shigaraki's deadly touch long enough to turn the tide? Well, if Meliodas tries to close the distance, he risks instant defeat. But if he keeps his distance and uses magic attacks from afar, he might avoid decay. But here's the real twist. Decay doesn't just disintegrate people. No matter how strong Meliodas is, this quirk targets any type of structure, buildings, and even the battlefield. That said, Meliodas might be able to drag this fight out by staying airborne. But realistically, with no magic to save him and no counter or way to avoid decay, it's only a matter of time before the captain of the 7 deadly sins falls victim to Shigaraki's fatal technique. Which means, despite Meliodas' demon power, Shigaraki's ability is just too overpowered in any type of duel. So giving Shigaraki the win over Meliodas. Moving him on to the semifinals, where he'll face the winner of our next match. Whew, and this might be the best one yet. It's time for two titans to collide. We've got Goku versus Sukuna. The key question here is, can Sukuna's cursed energy and domain stand up to Goku's raw power and ultra instinct speed? You see, ultimately this fight is a clash of brute force versus cursed technique. If Goku can keep the fight in open space, using his speed and energy attacks, he could overwhelm Sukuna before the domain traps him. But if Sukuna manages to close the distance and activate his domain, Goku's durability and Ultra Instinct reaction will be tested like never before. Goku's strength lies in his raw physical strength, energy blasts, and unmatched battle instinct. He can dodge and counter attacks almost effortlessly in Ultra Instinct. But if Sukuna traps Goku in his domain, this fight becomes about endurance and technique. Goku's Ultra Instinct might give him an edge in reacting to Sukuna's slashes, but Sukuna's relentless curse techniques could wear him down. On the flip side, Goku's energy blasts and punches have shattered mountains and planets, and his speed makes it incredibly difficult for opponents to land a hit, which points out to Goku being able to either avoid getting trapped inside the domain or being able to destroy the entire domain itself. So how would this fight go after all? Well, both fighters have impressive regeneration and endurance, so this battle could go either way. But given Goku's tools to avoid Sukuna's techniques, such as instant transmission and energy blasts, he might just edge out the King of Curses. In the end, this would come to a showdown between Ultra Instinct versus Malevolent Shrine, which means not only would Goku be able to react to Sukuna's slashes, but he would possibly even break through the entire domain. In the end, Goku would be able to come out victorious in this epic duel with the King of Curses. And with that, our semi-final matchups are officially set. This is shaping up to be an insane final duel for the glory. First up, One Punch meets Gear 5. It's Saitama versus Luffy. This might be the wildest matchup of the entire tournament. And at this point, it's not about power levels, it's about who breaks first. So the question is, can Luffy's Toon Force attacks actually hang with a guy who ends every fight in one punch? Well, Luffy's durability in Gear 5 is off the charts. He's been blasted, crushed, and electrocuted without going down, and he can fight for hours in his awakened state. Plus, his rubbery form makes blunt force less effective. So the line between Luffy tanking Saitama's punch and Saitama destroying Luffy in one shot is very, very thin. You see, this is a fight between the most reality-bending characters in all of anime. So the question becomes, what does a fight like this even look like? Well, Luffy's unpredictable reality-bending style isn't something Saitama usually faces. That said, Saitama's power is on a whole different level. He's faced threats that could destroy worlds and barely broken a sweat. But this fight isn't just strength versus strength. So, the real question is, can Luffy survive long enough to land a hit that shakes Saitama? And the answer is no. Despite being one of the toughest and weirdest opponents Saitama has ever faced, the One Punch Man would eventually find an opening and knock out the future Pirate King, which means Saitama will be the one moving on into our final matchup. Now, let's find out who's going ahead and face him in this final showdown. On the other side of the bracket, it's Goku versus Shigaraki. In this fight, Goku is going to have to play a different game if he wants to avoid Shigaraki's decay technique. You see, even Goku's Saiyan body isn't immune to being turned into dust with a single touch. So what happens when a near-invincible fighter meets a power that can kill with a touch? Well, Goku isn't exactly easy to catch. You see, Ultra Instinct means Goku moves on reflex alone, dodging attacks before they even happen. Combine that with his instant transmission, and you've got a fighter who can teleport mid-punch, vanish mid-hit, and strike from anywhere on the field. This will be Goku's trump card in this fight, and it might just be the perfect counter for Shigaraki's technique. So, here's the real problem Shigaraki faces. How do you destroy someone you can't touch? Well, given Shigaraki's tools, you don't. Picture this, a set of strikes from every angle, fast, precise, and untouchable. Shigaraki tries to counter, launching decay in waves, reshaping the battlefield into a crumbling mess. But every time he tries to swing, Goku is already gone. You see, despite Shigaraki owning quirks like Danger Sense and Surge, which allows him to sense where the enemy is attacking from, Goku's speed and Ultra Instinct far surpasses this ability's reaction time. And so, besides Shigaraki's regeneration and durability, keeping him in the fight for a while, the longer it drags, the more openings Goku finds, delivering strike after strike to the point where Shigaraki can barely stand. Which means, with Shigaraki's regeneration falling through, Goku finishes up this duel with his energy blast to claim victory. In the end, I guess this was just a wrong fight and wrong opponent for Shigaraki. And with that, we've reached the final, the last two standing in the entire anime world. Let's start our showdown. It's One Punch Man versus Super Saiyan God. This is the most hyped and most debated matchup in anime history. Can Goku survive beyond a single punch? Or will Saitama steamroll another favorite? If Saitama vs Gojo felt like a true 50-50, this one takes it to a whole new level. So then, what does a battle between these two actually look like? Well, Saitama is fast enough to tag beings moving at a light speed, strong enough to jump from the moon, and powerful enough to punch a hole in reality. And somehow, he's still getting stronger. But Goku is no stranger to absurdity. From Ultra Instinct to Super Saiyan Blue, Goku's power evolves every fight. But this fight isn't about raw power, it's about something deeper. What wins? Infinite strength or infinite growth? On one hand, Saitama is known for having no limit at all, while Goku always finds himself surpassing his. So let's say Goku starts in his comfort zone, testing Saitama with different forms, gradually increasing his power. He's reading, adapting, trying to figure out what Saitama actually is. And that's the problem. Saitama has no fighting style. He fights like someone who's never needed to take a fight seriously, which makes him nearly impossible for Goku to read. So the real question becomes, if Saitama lands a serious punch, can Goku survive it? And maybe even more importantly, is Saitama even fast enough to hit Goku once he activates Ultra Instinct? Well, that's where this fight gets wild. This turns the fight into a paradox. Saitama doesn't lose, but he's never truly been pushed, and Goku can lose, but he never stops rising when he's challenged. I promise you, we are not ending in a draw. So, only one thing decides this fight. What happens when Saitama's punch doesn't finish the fight? You see, while Saitama is written as a joke character who never struggles, Goku is designed to struggle and overcome. And in this tournament, under equal conditions and no holding back, that kinda matters. Why? Because Saitama might throw a punch strong enough to end the fight, but Goku isn't like anyone he's fought before. He's taken hits from gods, survived reality-breaking attacks, and kept going when his body was already done. And if Goku survives that first hit, even if barely, then the fight completely changes. Because now Saitama is in unknown territory. No more one-hit wins. And as we know, when it comes to mid-fight, no one does it better than Goku. So yeah, if Saitama lands a clean punch and Goku drops, then that's it, Saitama wins. If he doesn't, that's when things get tricky for Saitama. So in the end, with Ultra Instinct, limitless combat experience, and a mind built for adaptation, Goku just might take the win. Not because he's stronger by default, but because when both fighters are pushed beyond their limits, only one of them has ever had to climb back up. Which means Goku is the winner of our Ultimate Anime Tournament. Now, if you guys enjoyed this video, make sure to click on this one next, where I created the strongest character in anime sports history. Go on!